Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 457 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our fifth book just came out. It's called Perseverance and How to Be a Great Fraternity or Sorority Alumnus. So I want you to go out and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I would really only read things that were assigned by my teachers. I rarely was reading any books unless it was something fun. I can think of like the Choose Your Own Adventure series. That was something I was really into as a kid. And writing a book had always been a goal, but a goal that seemed almost impossible, such as climbing Mount Everest for me. I mean, that was something that, it was like a big accomplishment. Now that our team has written 5 books, I know that process inside and out, and I realize just how attainable that goal actually is, no matter what topic you're talking about. So I want all of our listening audience, I want you to start writing more often, even if it's journaling, whatever, and you'll be surprised at the book that is inside of you that is just waiting to come out, ready to share with the entire world. And I truly believe today that everybody in the world has a story to tell. To talk more about her story, let's go to our next guest on the podcast. If your corporation or association is looking for a dynamic, funny speaker with a lasting influence, let me tell you, we have the person for you, Liah Kraft-Kristaine J.D. We got to throw that Juris Doctorate in there, has programs on motivational leadership, communication, presentation skills, and creating wealth. Liah has spoken in nearly 500 cities on 4 continents, has appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show as a guest expert, and is the author of, get this, 15 books. She is a former broadcaster on CNN, PBS, and is a former practicing attorney. Liah is the founder and director of LifeStar Academy Foundations for girls aging out of the foster care system, teaching life skills for healthy, happy adjustment to entry into a productive adult life. Welcome to the show, Liah.
It is so great to be here, Mike. Thank you.
Of course. It is a pleasure to have you on the show. You have so much great wisdom to share with our college student listeners. So I was really excited for this. And, I speak to a lot of undergraduate students. Many of them are aiming for law school. I know a lot of pre-law folks that listen to this show. And you ended up at Emory University School of Law, a fantastic institution. What made you want to become a lawyer at that point?
Oh, you're going to hate this answer. I actually was looking for a way to support my writing desire. I thought, I don't know anybody who's making a living as a writer. I need to do something that makes a lot of money. My dad was a judge for 35 years, so I was around law. Always had it near me. And I thought, well, this is attainable. This is understandable. I also thought it would come in handy later on and for many different things. And I was right about that. But what I didn't really know enough about was all of the ways I could have used that degree in law. Of course, you can use it in corporations. You can use it in so many, many ways. And it's such a great foundation. But I wasn't in love with it. And I also landed at a time where we were not very good about paying women attorneys.
Mm.
And I hate to say this, Mike, I'm from the North, but I moved to the South, and in the South there was a little different system. And I didn't really get that. I didn't understand that. I actually was paid $7.50 an hour, and I was the first one in my law school class to get into the Bar Association. I also was on had an honor of many different honors in law school that put me near the top. And I think, honestly, here's the bottom line of what I believe and how my cosmology is. I think God made it happen that way, that I made very little money at it so that I would not stay very long, get enough that I learned something and then leave, because that was not what I was supposed to do. I had the wrong motivation. The motivation was money. Money should never be the motivation.
Yeah.
There. So
You're so right. You're so right. I feel the same way about accounting. I mean, I have an accounting undergraduate degree, and then I got into the industry doing debits and credits, and I'm like, there is no way I can stay in this job with like no windows in the room
oh,
and just do debits
oh,
and credits all day. I'm
oh.
literally like, my creativity is literally dying on the vine. And so, yeah, that was the message from God. Like, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to
Yeah.
get out as fast as you can.
I'm sorry. The picture of you as an accountant is
Oh,
like
there's
a
no
person
way.
in a straitjacket.
Yeah, I was in a straitjacket and I'm looking around going, this is not the place for me. Okay, I need to get out of here.
Oh, Joe.
But it is a good foundation, to your point.
Yes.
I think it's a great foundation to being an entrepreneur because if you understand an income statement and a balance sheet, you can run any business. So the foundation was good, and I'm thankful
Yes.
for that.
Yes.
And I think you feel the same way about your
Oh,
law degree.
absolutely. I have used
Yeah.
it all through every business I've had. I have used it in so many different ways, and it doesn't fully protect me. I got into a really bad contract with my fourth book, and I was being my own attorney then. I should have hired somebody else. I didn't see the fine print that made me actually end up earning 1.5% of the cover price of the book.
Oh,
1.5%, because I didn't understand that the exception was the rule, but that's another story.
oh
So
my God. Unbelievable.
find the
Unbelievable.
experts.
Yeah, absolutely. Find the experts to help guide you. And
Yes,
you're also a former CNN and PBS broadcaster. Tell our
yes.
audience, what did you learn about the media while working on the inside?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. And I was so fortunate, especially in both CNN and PBS, because in CNN, it was one of those experiences where I had no real idea why I was there. This man, I called CNN, I pitched an idea, I said, CNN needs to be doing this show, and it's not. Here's it. I laid it out for him. He said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Atlanta." He said, "Come in and have a meeting with me." I said, "Why?" He said, "I just want to hear more about it." I said, "I just told you the whole idea. There's no need to meet me." The very next day, sitting in the parking lot at CNN, I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm here. I have no idea. Went in, explained the show to him again. He said, "Well, who do you think should host it?" And I listed several different anchors. And he said, "No, she's not right. No, he's not right. No, he's not right. How about you?" And I thought he was coming on to me.
Mm.
So I said, "Well, don't you need to talk to some people? Isn't there a board? Don't you need to discuss it with someone?" And he said, now I'm telling you this because it was in the early days of the internet and nobody knew how to use it, least of all me. And he said, "Well, who would I ask? I'm the president."
Oh, wow.
And I went, "You are?" I was just an idiot. But
You didn't know
so
this? I can't believe you didn't
no,
know.
no, I did not.
Unbelievable.
And there was
Oh,
no big sign on the door. It didn't say president. It said his name, and I was not well informed. And it came about in a 24 less than a 24-hour period. I didn't have time to research. I just thought I was delivering an idea with sketchy reasons why. And so I ended up not just, he said, "You're a writer. Can you write it?" I said, "Sure, I can write it."
mm,
And then he said, "Well, can you do some producing too? Can you bring in photos for us? Because we're going to shoot, like the." I said, "Well, sure." So I ended up doing all three of those jobs. And I learned so much by doing that, making
mm,
sure everything was there. I wasn't just a little walk-on talkie. It was those are my words. That's my script. And it was so funny because the first day I did it, I was live. The first time I was live to 17 countries. This was in the early days of CNN.
mm,
And people, and a producer came up to me later and said, "Where were you an anchor?" I said, "Nowhere."
nope.
And he said, "What?" He said, "It looks like you've been doing this for 10 years." And I said, "I don't know," but it worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
And I also then I pitched an idea to PBS. It was based
Unbelievable.
on my fifth book, which is 30 Days to Happiness. I pitched an idea called The Myths of Happiness. What was astounding, I didn't know how all this worked behind the scenes. They got the audience, they built the set, they did things that I couldn't do, and it was just astounding. I came in, I had my placards. We did not have any kind of teleprompters. I built big foam core boards with the bullet points on it and
Yeah.
and had people standing on the sides with matching. It was a 90-minute show. It was in 30-minute parts. It became the second money earner on PBS. after the three tenors, and that tells you how long ago that was.
Wow.
The three tenors were the biggest money earners for them. But the wonderful thing I got out of that was I met the wonderful director, and we spent 120 hours editing because we had B-roll and C-roll, and we put it all together, and I learned how to video edit on this massive, beautiful, astounding equipment. And there had another skill. You don't get paid to do this.
Mm.
So it was a labor of love. I love PBS. I just really wanted to do this program and get the message out about depression, about bringing yourself up, because it was my life. It
Mm.
was what saved me. And so that's another story that maybe we'll talk about. But yeah, I loved
Wow.
it. But I also realized I need to be doing my own words all the way through. I would not want to be an anchor. I don't want the news feed from somebody else's writing. And I want to talk about things I'm passionate about. There's a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the lesson here is if you have an idea for a show, go ahead and pitch it because you just
Yes.
might be hosting it.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what might happen. So
Amazing.
you trust yourself. I it was all seat of the pants, Mike.
Yeah,
I didn't have
unbelievable.
a broadcasting degree.
Well, you know what? But somehow that, that's how life happens. You and I are old
Yeah,
enough to know that, sometimes, life throws you a curveball and you're in the right place at the right time. They're
that's
looking
right.
for a show. They love the idea and they're like, let's go.
Yeah,
You pitched it,
exactly.
so let's go.
Yes, exactly. So it
That's so
was fun,
great.
and it benefited them for a long time. And I was so happy. And then you come into local stations and you can talk about your books. You give your books, or the station buys your books, and then they give them as gifts. And that can be helpful. But it was just a labor of love. I wanted to do it.
I
So,
love it. I love it. I also wanted to talk to you about housing because so many of our listeners are college students and it's completely unaffordable right now in terms of housing for recent college graduates. I was just talking to a bunch last night, some alumni from my alma mater at the University at Buffalo, and they can't afford living in Nashville right now. I mean, the prices are really high. You have high interest rates, high home prices.
right.
How can some of these young recent college graduates build their own house quickly and affordably?
Well, as you know, I am taking it upon myself to teach people who have the interest how to build their wealth by learning how to build a house. And it's not brain surgery, and it's actually really, really fun. The first house I built, I started with $4,000.
Mm.
And I had to build it. At the time, I had a house on the north side of Atlanta, and I had inherited somebody else's mortgage, and I didn't understand what kind of mortgage it was. Really, I thought I did. I didn't know that I could actually ride it up to 18.75% and have the principal go up, not down. So my house was not my house. I owed more on it than it was worth. I had it up for sale. And what I realized is as soon as I sell this, I have to pay money to the mortgage company because I'm not going to clear this mortgage.
Wow.
And so I said, I've got to have a shelter. The lucky thing is, and this is one of the things I tell people about, I had found a beautiful piece of land on a lake. But the person that sold it to me didn't even realize what he had because he had too many lots, but he sold it to me. And I paid on it at $149 a month. So I had this piece of land. I had a tent sitting on the piece of land, and I would go out there with my laptop and I'd write until it ran out of juice. And I'd go in town, charge it up, come back. I said, this is really horrible. I want a shelter of any kind. Well, I was always involved in reading architectural books. I should have been an architect, maybe, but I loved learning about how to build things.
Mm.
I designed a house based on an old building process that they used to build barns, and still some people build barns this way. It's called post and beam construction.
Mhm.
It is storm hardy building. You take a long post, you bury it in the ground, it's standing straight up. You have several posts, you link them together. If a big wind comes in, it doesn't blow it off the foundation. It is hardy. It's storm hardy. Nothing is completely impermeable or indestructible, but very storm hardy, and fast to build. I hired two guys who were wonderful people. They were framing guys, and I talked a friend of mine into coming with me. And the four of us, with my $4,000, I bought lumber, I paid these guys, and this is the major story. In 4.5 days, it was dried in.
Wow.
Meaning the roof was on, the windows were plasticized, I had a front door, and I had felt a 30-year felt on the roof. I didn't have to shingle it right away. I got out of my tent with my dog and my stuff and moved into it at 10:30 that last day on the 5th day of building.
Wow. That's incredible.
And then I taught myself how to do wiring and plumbing. And I know this all sounds crazy for people who are thinking, you did what? Anybody can do it. You're allowed to. I don't want to touch the electrical panel. I don't want to die. So I hire people to do that. But getting everything else in place is teachable, learnable, and that's what I do. I teach people. It's at home, then four, the number four, the heart. It's a very beginning of a YouTube channel, but it shows you the first house I built. I've built many other houses since then, but I am now teaching classes. I've got an e-course for it too, if you live in Seattle, because I'm in Georgia. But I want people, if we are building at that time, and we're about to break ground in 2 weeks,
Mm.
we are telling people we want to teach you. It's a course, it's a seminar, but we built that into what I say about it. You can build your own 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, maybe even 3-bedroom house for under $50,000 in fewer than 30 days. There's gaps between because with this kind of building process, everybody has to get things inspected. And it's a great thing that we have this. But
Mm.
when I got things inspected, the inspector said to me, how do you know how to do all of this? People that are licensed don't even put in it the staples in the right place like you're doing. I said, well, it's in the book, and I got it at Home Depot or
Wow.
Lowe's. But I learned from a book, and my dad taught me a lot of things about building, but not really showing me for, hey, if you ever want to build a house. He would say, hey, we're going to do this today. We're going to do this. My dad did not have any sons. He was a Marine. He was a football coach, and then he became a judge. Now, he should have had sons, but I had the benefit of being right there doing everything that boys would have done. I loved it. But really, really want to reach women, especially. I want to say, look, when I built this first house and I started with $4,000, I was single. I did not have a cheerleader. Did not have a big support thing. I asked my dad to come and help me, and he said, I'm playing golf in Minnesota. Why would I want to come and do that? So I said, thanks, Dad. All right, I'll do it. He said, here's the tools. Go get 2 books on electrical and 3 books on plumbing, and you'll have it. And I've done so much plumbing and electrical since then. I've scared away a lot of dates. I finally found the right person, but I'll tell you, some of those dates did not get it when I said, it froze. It got to be 17 degrees. I've got to cut out the sheetrock and replace the pipe. He said, oh, I
You're
said,
doing what?
trust me, I can do this. It's nothing. It's okay. Oh, so I want to teach people, and I want them to be empowered. And that's how America was built. And we need to build it again, because in 2023, the price of an average house in the US came down. It came down from an average of 541,000 down to 511,000. Isn't that reassuring?
Mm. Who's got that kind of money? Certainly
Well,
not recent
that
grads.
just stinks.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
stinks.
telling people, outside of the price of the land and getting a septic system in, making sure you buy a piece of land in a place where there's community water already available,
Mhm.
that's what you want. And you might sit on it for a year or two before you decide to build. But it is the best way, because here's the other part. Mike, everybody needs to know this. And I wish I
Mhm.
had known it. I think that the law wasn't like this at the very beginning of my journey, but you build a house, you live in it for 2 years, you start getting another piece of land, you sell the house after 2 years. If you live in that house for 2 years, anything up to a gain of $250,000 is tax free, my friend. Now you're going to do it again. You might sell it for an additional 100. You're still giving somebody else an affordable house.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 150. Then you do the next one. You stay in it for 2 years. Then you sell it. Then you do another one. Do 4 of those or 5 of those. you will be set for life and you'll probably have well over $1 million. And you've
Amen.
enjoyed living in different kinds of homes until you find the perfect and right one. You say, finally, this is exactly the way I wanted it.
Yeah, that's a great blueprint. I love it. And you're such a multi-tool player. I mean, you can do anything. I'm just so impressed. I mean, I can talk to you about depression as well because, depression impacts so many of the college students who are listening right now.
Oh, man.
And you actually talk about going through what's called the ASF process.
Right.
So what is the ASF process?
Well, the way to remember this is to say, get off your ASP. And when you're really depressed, you can't move. I know that. I struggled with depression from the time I was 13 until the time I was 29. And my mom died then.
Hmm,
And I basically said to myself, okay, Liah, when are you going to figure out how to be happy? Because you might not have as much time as you think you have to figure it out.
hmm,
The A is for assess. You got to ask yourself some questions. And the questions can be a list you create in advance because honestly, you're not going to write that list while you're depressed. You figure out your own list before that and you go through a couple of questions. Is my depression springing from something outside me? Is it a short term or a long term? Is it something that's inside me? How much control do I have over it? Do I have 90%? Do I have 20%? Do I have no control? Okay, let's get some clarity about this. At least you take it apart. That helps you to step back just a little bit because you've got to do that first. The second is the ASF. Your body holds tension like crazy. You've got it in your hands, you've got it in your cheeks, you've got it in your face, you've got it in your stomach, you've got it in your legs. Shaking your body is such a help. And one of the things I've used, not everybody has one, but it's mini trampoline. Get on a mini trampoline and bounce 200 to 300 times. I know you're going to hate it and you're going to say, this is so stupid. But believe me, by the time you have shaken your body and you have moved around, really, what's toxins in your blood, you have given yourself a whole new way of looking at things. But you've got to shake the tension off first because you can't do good thinking until you've shaken off some of the tension. And do maybe some walking, or when you're walking, do some jogging, little jogs, little tiny jogs, just to shake you up. Shake, 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 shake it off. You can literally shake off some of that depression so that you can move into the next step, which is to ask yourself questions like three big questions. What am I telling myself about myself right now that's a lie?
hmm,
I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I don't have friends. You do too have friends. It's what we do when we get depressed. We tell ourselves lies. We
hmm,
tell ourselves lies about three things. You tell yourself lies about yourself. You tell yourself lies about other people. They don't really like me. They're just pretending. They never liked me. He had this planned all along. Or you tell yourself lies about life. Life, it's too tough. This is too much. It's too big for me. And then about me, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's what goes on in our heads. And the truth is, no one has control over your thoughts. Not one person. Never, anywhere, ever. You decide that you're going to start doing one little statement. I can do this. One of the best statements ever, ever, ever is to say, all is well. All is well. All is well. And breathe, breathe. All is well. Say it until you start to feel it in your bones. It's the best 60 seconds you could ever use.
hmm.
Because out of that comes, people have gone through such trauma and terror, and they've emerged on the other side into sunlight. They've made it through when it looks like the worst possible thing. They've made it through. Even if it's about another person. I've had times with my adopted daughter who came from a lot of trauma. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just going to get worse. It's going to get worse. I'm a praying person, and that really does help, but not everybody is. And you don't have to say the word God, and you don't have to say, you can say universe, you can say infinite, you can say whatever you want. But there is something at work here that is much bigger than what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. It is much bigger than that, and it's at work all the time. Think about after you've asked yourself these questions, you say to yourself, what do I want? Can I think of one little piece of what I want? I want a corner of peace. I want a corner of quietness. I want a corner of this. I want just a little improvement. I want just a little. Think about what you do want, because the thought of what you want out of all of what you're feeling right now, which feels like a bunch of tangled yarn, if you can just emerge to say, okay, I can breathe now. And this is what I want. Just to start here. Start here.
Mm.
I am telling you that thought affects everything. And when people say, how did you get on the Oprah Winfrey show? And I tell them, mostly they don't believe me. But I say, I have learned how to deliberately ask for what I want. And I ask it again and I imagine it. You not only say, I want just a little quiet, you say, what would that feel like to have a little quiet? What would that feel like to have a little peace? What would it feel like? And pretty soon you start being it. And that is part of the secret. You have to be it here in the core of you, just a little bit. The universe appreciates that. Just do a little bit, and I'll come in and help. Whether you believe that or not, thank goodness I believe that, or I probably wouldn't be walking today because
Mhm.
I started off as a crippled child. That's another story completely. But I want you to know, and everybody has to hear this, your thoughts matter. Stop thinking the negative garbage as quickly as you can and start thinking even the smallest kernel of, it's going to get better. It's
Mm.
going to feel better. I'm going to live through this and I'm going to thrive on the other side of it. I really, really am. I want everybody to know that and understand it clearly. And some of these are tests, some of these are ways for you to learn from. But it's so important to understand you have power and your thoughts are powerful. And the more powerful you become feeling good, like getting to a point where you are projecting, I feel powerful today. Okay, quick. What's the most important, best thing you can think of? Think about that. Use your power for that day. If you want peace for the world, build up your own power and then go, pow, world, I want you to have more peace. I'm contributing to it. I feel powerfully peaceful. I'm bringing peace. I'm not asking for peace. I'm bringing it. That's what we have to do.
Ooh, very powerful stuff. Very, very
Yeah.
powerful stuff. And, you know, we should talk about your book too. You wrote the book. It's called 30 Days to Happiness. I believe that was
Yes.
book number 5 for you. What
Yes.
is a happiness tune-up, and how is that going to help in terms of our resiliency?
Well, here's the thing. We have patterns in our lives. We have habits. We know how to tie our shoes.
Mhm.
When you're trying to change an emotional habit, which too often sliding into depression is a pattern, an emotional habit, it takes a few days to get into a new pattern. It only takes 21 days to change any other kind of pattern. But when you're talking emotional rut, it takes at least 30. And here's the truth. I wrote 30 Days to Happiness because I was fed the words by my unseen angel. There you go. That's the truth of it. It has helped people around the world, hundreds of thousands of people. And I had to go through my 30 days 3 times. So that's the truth. And I've had people come up to me at big speaking events with a book saying, look, I highlighted it in 5 different colors. I'm on my 6th time. I said, good for you, because every time it feels like a different book. And you are then learning how to apply it to what's currently going on for you. It's a program. The book is a program. So I turned it into an e-course. And so I am visiting people daily for 30 days through their inbox. If they sign up for my e-course called the Happiness Tune-Up, they will get a more in-depth look at each piece of the 30-day program that's in the book. They also get the book, but they go through it, and then I'm on video with them for a short time because I know everybody's got to have it quick. I get that. But it is also delivered with audio as well. So you can hear it again and again and again. And you can read it and you can work with a workbook. You can do all of it. You can do just a little of it. You can do none of it. It's your choice. But I'm with you for 30 straight days. And the beauty of it is it costs less than one session with a licensed therapist. And you get it for an entire month. But no, you get it for the rest of your life because it's a lifetime guarantee. You get to keep it and review it and see it again and again and again. And honestly, because of the way I feel, share it with your brother, sister, friend. Share it with your mom. Share it with your dad. Everybody needs to understand how we can get ourselves back to a state of super well-being by taking one step, little step, little step, little step. It's a stairway. You learn one tool, you move to the next tool, you move to the next tool. But the first thing you learn is cut out the negative as quickly as you can. Because if you let yourself slide to the bottom of any cesspool, it's really hard to get back out from the bottom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And you slide. The quicker you can stop it, the better off you are. That's one of the best tools I can give you right now is stop it as soon as you get a hint of it. If you say, hey, where's this thought taking me? Grab yourself by the shirt collar and jerk yourself back and say, you've been there too many times. You have a lot of those t-shirts, hats. Now it's time to turn it around. You're going to go in the opposite direction. You can do this, but that's the first step. Cut out the garbage, please, please. It's going to help you. It's going to help you help somebody else.
Mm-hmm. No
That's what I
doubt about
want.
it. Really, really good stuff. I tell you what, you and I, we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
I know.
And you have so many talents, it's hard to get everything into a 30-minute show, but this has
Ask
been
me
absolutely
back, Mike.
fantastic.
Ask me back.
I know. We definitely need to. One of my weaknesses is always really good food. And, I do get to Atlanta pretty often, just because it is so close to me from Nashville. So I'm wondering, when you're in the Atlanta area, is there any place that you just really love for good food?
The only way I can answer that question is I actually live outside of Atlanta now.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, the amazing thing is, I'm looking out the window at my lake. I live at Lake Oconee, and I have the long view all the way across the lake. It's the second largest lake in Georgia.
Hmm.
And in the Lake Oconee area, there is a restaurant I adore. It is called Da Corrado, and it's right off of I-20. So if you're
Hmm.
headed from Atlanta to Augusta to go
Yep.
play golf, it's right in the middle between the two, and it's right near the exit for Greensboro. So Da Corrado and their incredible, incredible eggplant parmesan with the cheese that goes from here to here, and it's all garlic, and it's mine. Yes, I love it.
All right, Doctorado it is. I mean, the way you describe the food, I mean, that sounds absolutely amazing. So
And
sure.
the owner is awesome, and you can
Yeah,
sit outside or inside, and it's just the best atmosphere.
I
Fabulous
love it.
atmosphere.
I love it. This is
Yeah.
really good. All right. So, if our student listeners, if they want to buy your books, they want to do your e-course, maybe they want to hire you to speak on their college campus, or maybe they want some coaching in
Yeah.
terms of speaking. Maybe they want to do a TEDx talk and they need a coach to walk them through. Where
Yes.
should our listeners go in order to connect with you and get all your products and services?
Well, if you want to personally let me know you're interested in coaching or say, can you be available to speak, please email me at info, just INFO, at Lifecraft, LIFE, my last name, KRAFT, lifecraft.com. Otherwise, you'll go to a gambling site. So, lifecraft.com is where you can find me. And the best thing to do is put in www.lifecraft with a K.com, and you will find all the things I've been talking about. Slide on down to see the books. There's more books. I've written a lot of books. I've had 5 bestsellers, and I am so thankful for all of it. And I just say, start where you are. Start
Mm.
where you are. You don't know how quickly you can have a boost into the atmosphere. You don't need to say, well, the only way I can get there is after years of slogging through this and this and this. Believe it can be magical, and it is.
I love it. Well said. Go check out the website. It's www.lifecraft. So it's LifeKraft.com. Go and check that out. Go check out the books. Go check out the e-courses and connect with Liah because she is a fantastic speaker, a great coach as well for other speakers that want to improve on their skills. And what can I say? Thank you so much for sharing with all this great information today.
Thank you, Mike. It's been a great pleasure.
Yes, of course. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Liah, I want you to like it and I want you to share it on social media with other folks, other students that need to hear her words. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Have a good day.